Alright, I think that should be it for today. Not in terms of the stream, but in terms of setup. I apologize. It's been, if you guys have been keeping track, it's been almost 4 months. And I'm sure as all of you know, or some of you know that are watching, I recently had an addition to my family, which is why we had the brief hiatus from dev streams. Doesn't mean that dev work stopped entirely. There's been quite a bit going on. I'll give you a bit of an update on kind of what has progressed over the last 4 months, and then and then we'll jump into the stream today, which we're going to focus on working on equipment and pickable equipment. One of the more recent updates, we introduced a new inventory system, a new item system, and I guess I'll go into a little more detail about how it's structured and how it's set up. As some of you other CryEngine developers might know, CryEngine has its own, so within CryAction, there's already an item system and a pickable system and an equipment system. However, it's not customizable at all, and it's very tailored towards a first-person shooter. So it has like hard-coded enumerations such as grenades, weapons, rifles, attachments, and obviously in a medieval setting, grenades are just not something we're gonna have. Unfortunately, for all of you guys who were very much looking forward to that part. So, let me just start off by giving you a couple updates on what's been happening over the last 4 months. So, one of the big things is we made quite a few changes to Discord. An announcement was posted two nights ago, 1 night ago. I think it was Thursday night. That kind of just detailed the different changes. So we have a new bot in Discord, so Dino instead of Me6. If you guys have been reading the news, you will have heard that Me6 is, well, it's not always recommended because it doesn't always have the best privacy practices as a bot in general. And beyond that, Dino just seemed to be very much more of a straightforward server management bot. So that's been introduced. Beyond that, there's now roles you can react for in the About channel to get different notifications, which did not work, so that's something I'll have to fix. But the idea is that you can either subscribe for announcements, notifications, or stream notifications, and you'll get either or the or. In addition to the new bot, we've added a stream channel, so dev streams. Any dev streams get pinged directly to the channel whenever they start. In addition to that, we'll be running events within Discord to coincide with the streams, so that you can get, if you say you're interested in the event, you'll get a notification for it. Just to better give people more opportunity to hop in and kind of see what we're doing. Beyond that, obviously this stream is at a different time. It's at 1 p.m. Central, whatever that correlates to in all your other time zones, as opposed to I believe it was 8 p.m. Central we were doing before. And unfortunately, with that previous time slot, there were very few of our overseas friends who could make it. So hopefully this time slot works a little bit better. In addition, being to just a little bit more flexible in what we can do with it. One other big change. We did have one more patron start contributing. If you guys know Journey, last week he subscribed as a patron, so thank you, Journey, for that. Very glad to have you there. One thing we did add in addition to all the other changes is we enabled server subscriptions within Discord, so you no longer have to go to Patreon if you want to support the game or game development. You can now do it directly within the Discord. There's a link in the chat. Just join the Discord. On the top left, there's a server subscriptions. You can take a look at the different tiers and all the benefits you get, and decide if that's something you want to do to help us out. I know most recently Moose King, who is probably one of the one of the few Baron patrons in our community right now. He did get to do some playtesting on the game before the New Year's, which he also streamed in Discord. So if you're not, basically the message here is if you're not in the Discord, please get in there so you can see what's going on and just take part in that part of the community. Other than that, I want to go through some quick notes. Quick notes in regards to the game itself. Just some highlights of systems that have changed since 4 months ago. So give me 1 second just to pull this up. I feel like it'll be better if instead of just doing these dev streams, I'd like to give you guys a little bit more just insight into what's going on with the game. As we've kind of communicated before, a lot of the core systems are solid and done. We are making some changes to core systems to account for better serialization of data so that we can actually save it, store it, properly sync it between a server and a client, in addition to actually saving the state of the entire world so that we can periodically save from a server side of things the game state, sync it up to one of our servers, and in the event of like a crash or an update or something, be able to bring the servers back up at that state without having to wipe out all progress made. All right, so so a couple big things that happened within the between the last stream and this stream. The warehouse and granary now have stackable food, and what that means is basically when your workers are harvesting apples or they're chopping down wood and they bring it into the warehouse, it'll stack. Same with, so both the granary and the warehouse have that. For every single resource type, they all stack based on how much you've deposited into the warehouse or granary. With that came an inventory system overhaul. Basically what we had a very specific inventory that was built specifically for resources. And because of that, we had a bunch of different resource stages and kind of like a bunch of sub states that could occur within resources. And because they were sub states, we had to manually check for those states within the entire inventory system. And so the logic around actually maintaining an inventory properly, not even with all the items that needs to be added, but just with resources was getting very complex. So we broke it down and simplified it into a pretty simple inventory system. That's no longer depending on it being a resource. There's just a generic item and different types of items and different types of properties attached to all the items. So that's going to be part of what we're going to work on today. As you see right now, we have different colored shirts here. So blue, red, green. The goal is to have items be able to appear up anywhere in the world for a soldier or a worker or a peasant or whatever to be able to walk up to that and to be able to add that to their inventory. And as it adds to their inventory, them to be able to equip it. And if it's like a sword, I got extra damage to that unit. Or if it's a shield or armor, add extra damage resistance to that unit as well. Let me just go through and see if there's any other updates that have been made. I think the stacking and inventory are kind of the bigger ones. We did end our last stream actually just to cover up on this, and I apologize. We're kind of going over a lot of old stuff right now, but I think it's good to catch up because from from our point of view, we haven't really talked about it since quite a while ago. So we had worked on Guid events. So essentially, instead of us passing a string from the UI, and let's just jump into game mode here. So instead of passing a string from the UI, so like if I clicked on this house right here, it would pass a string house to the UI to build. It no longer does that. As you can see down here, we got a build event, but we got a build event for a Guid. And this Guid essentially represents the class component that's created within CryEngine, registered within CryEngine. So what this allows us to do is, instead of having to build out this big UI with a bunch of different switch statements to handle every single use case for our user interface, we just have one component class that's registered within CryEngine. We basically tell the UI, hey, here's an action I want you to do. Here's the component class Guid that I want you to send to me when I click you. And then I will just create that component, attach it to it, and based on its class type, that enables whatever different functionality we have there. So yeah, so I think that buttons up the Guid events. I may do another stream here soonish or in the future that just goes into them in a little more detail, where we actually create so instead of everything being hard-coded within the scale form element, we kind of create a grid that we can kind of plug dynamic elements into. I think that would be really cool to see. And then yeah, but that's all for a future date. With that all being said, I am Tristan. I am the lead developer, founder. I don't know what my official title is. I'm working on Last Kingdom alongside of Yorma, who joined quite a ways back actually. From the art side of things, he's been helping with like the character hood, and we've been working on some really cool stuff in regards to ships, potentially for a shipwreck on a beach. A little teaser there about what might be in the game. And he's been great. He's been working on a lot of the art stuff, and just kind of expanding his art knowledge. So really excited with what he's been able to put together and bring to the team, and really excited to start showing you guys some more of what that looks like in terms of gameplay. So let's jump into it. So we're on our test level right now. Just to keep things a little bit less complicated, I want to show you what functionality we have right now in regards of equipment, and then I wanted to work on adding some additional equipment. So a sword, a shield, probably not armor today because it needs to get skinned, but the goal being that I pick up a sword, I pick up a shield, and it increases my damage. So we may have to add another trigger to spawn a different unit type, because peasants technically by default are a passive unit. They will run away if they get attacked. They're not a combat unit. So but maybe we can hardcode them differently to just play around with it for a little bit. Alright, so I'm just going to throw down a house, and we'll have all our peasants come out, all with these beautiful brown boots and their blue shirts and their bald heads. And this guy's like, I don't like my shirt. I want a different shirt. So I'm going to go wear a green shirt. But then he changes his mind, as all peasants do. And he's like, I don't want a green shirt anymore. I want a red shirt. So he picks up the red shirt. And then from there, he's like, oh, you know what? These shirts just aren't what I was hoping for. I want to go back to my blue shirt. So he's going to go grab his blue shirt. And that is essentially items and equipment items in the world. the goal being that these equipment can exist anywhere. In addition to that, hoping to also include the functionality for if a unit gets killed, being able to maybe randomly, maybe not randomly, be able to drop some of their items on the ground. So, scenario, you have 10 woodcutters and somebody brings like a knight into your area. Your woodcutters all gang up on the knight, chop them down with a bunch of axes, and then they pick up the either some of the armor or some of the weapons that knight had. And obviously, the knight has a much better base stats, so they're never going to equate to a knight, but they would be able to kind of lift some of that gear off the knight. So just add an interesting gameplay dynamic there. One other thing I wanted to show you is that this does not. So all resources are items. Here's our woodcutter, by the way. This is the hood that Yorma put together for the woodcutter. I think it looks pretty good. So because we built items as a generic kind of class type, it's not just equipment, it's not just armor. It extends to items, resources as well. So I picked up that log and I can carry that log around. I can even go back to my warehouse and cut it into boards. I can then, go back to my wood camp and cut it into boards. And then I can even refine it, and then there's more wood for me to deposit into my warehouse. And as you guys saw, there's one of the things I mentioned earlier is we added the stackable resource stuff. So as he deposited those 5 wood into the warehouse, it just started stacking up the wood right there. So I think this is everything that we can look at in game right now. What I want to do right now is I want to create a sword, and I want to just add it to the game world. I want to add a shield and add it to the game world. Neither of which are created, so they're going to be whiteboxed, but I think we'll kind of get an idea of what the concept is supposed to be, and then see how we can start potentially building out or allowing units to pick up different weapons or sorts of weapons to kind of flesh out their functionality. So alright, so I'm going to exit out of the sandbox and we'll jump into Rider. Last Kingdom crashed. Yes, I closed it. That's not why I crashed, but anyway, it crashed. One thing I'm going to want to do here, I'm going to want to, hang on, let me, I'm going to want to disable my, I can remember what I'm trying to say. I want to disable my crash report, CVAR. Crytek, if you are listening, 5.7 broke the crash reporter. Not that it'll be fixed before CryEngine 6 comes out, but crash reporting no longer works. So I'm going to disable it as just this crash report 0. The reason why I have to disable crash report for development is because if it's enabled, Rider does not properly interact with the executable, and so it'll do a crash report, but I can't actually debug it crashing, or it doesn't throw an exception that I can look at and see, okay, where at in the code did I, not clean up a pointer, or I'm referencing a null pointer or something like that. All right, so Before we actually hop into code, I'm gonna hop into Blender. And I think I might actually try to pull up an old asset that Jay sent me. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. Blender assets, weapons, bow, arrow, siege, sword. Oh, one other big thing that that I've made a shift towards, instead of doing FBX imports and exports, it's all now done through the BCry blend plugin, or I'm sorry, the BCry plugin. I'm blanking right now on who in Discord actually built it out for that, but one of the developers who worked on, oh gosh, I don't want to just throw out a name here. I want to credit him for it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Yeah. Okay. So the drained goddess. So the developer of the Drain Goddess updated the BCry plugin for Blender, so you can export stuff to CryEngine from Blender. And the FBX tool I know works sometimes, but for the life of me, I can't understand why I ever chose to use FBX over the BCry tool plugin once I actually got it working and understood how it worked. So if you're looking at those two things and you're not sure why to use one or the other, what benefits does it bring, I definitely recommend it, just as a workflow improvement for your development. Alright, so I'm actually going to try to find an old sword Jay sent me. When we were working on the logo, he sent over some... I think he actually modeled the sword. I don't think he textured it, but I think he modeled it. And if I can, I'm gonna snag that for my sword model so I don't have to recreate it. Alright, so search for sword. Melee sword. 3D viewer in Windows does not like this does not like FBX files. Okay, so the melee sword is an animation. It's not actually a attachment. Armor, nope, not there. Maybe it's under tools. No. Weapons. No, we just created that. Alright. Go to props and... Alright, I'm not seeing it by default, so I'm going to have to create a new one. Alright, so I'm going to do... Control A mesh cube. Scale this down a little bit. So... I think scale-wise, each one of these blocks is 1 meter. The Roman short sword was... How long was the Roman short sword? Yeah, Zen. Thank you. Thank you, Jormalti. I'm sure I just butchered your name. But yeah, Zen did upgrade the BCry plugin. He forked it. So yeah, I just shout out to him for doing that. It's saved me a ton of time. Hi, Yorma. We were just talking about your art. All right. So how long is? Okay. So yeah. So Roman short sword was, or the gladius was 18 inches long. That's only 1.5 feet. That's actually really, really short when you think about like the long swords that knights used to have. So how long were medieval swords? So medieval swords usually ranged from 69 to 81 centimeters, 27 to 32 inches. So up to 100 centimeters, so 1 meter. 1 meter long. So this is 2 meters. This is too long. So I'm going to go shorter. I'm going to add a plane. I'm going to rotate it 90. Snap to surface. Snap that to the surface of that. Big plane. I'm going to apply my transforms. Going to edit mode. Let's do a loop cut. Cut it in half. Let's do couple more loop cuts up here by the tip. And then I will just make this into the general shape of the sword. You know, Yorma, we're gonna have to get you on here to show off some of your talents. It's funny how 3 times in a row I moved it in the wrong axis, and like each time I didn't do any better. Cool. All right, it's a little bit too wide. Scale a little bit down on the z-axis. Again, technically it's supposed to be a white box, so I don't want to put too much work into it. Delete those faces because they're not going to be exposed. Let's add another cube. So let's call this blade. So it's going to add another cube. You know what I wish? I wish CryEngine had I wish there was a way where I could keybind like all the Blender keybinds to the CryEngine keybinds. I find the movement like in Blender, it was a bit to learn initially, but I find it quite intuitive once you actually kind of understand what they're looking for. So I think I'm gonna try to be fancy here. I'm gonna add a modifier here. So I'm gonna do a mirror. They don't have any search there. So I'm gonna mirror this, I'm gonna mirror it on the y-axis. Okay, and I'm just going to, yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna extrude Y, and I want this to just be a little bit bigger. Extrude Y again. And I'm gonna do that one more time. And then I'm gonna scale that down a little bit. And then we're going to just scale these points down as well. These are going to get merged at the center. Alright, go back into raw mode. I'm going to apply this modifier and it becomes one object. And I think I just need to merge these at the center. Cool. I need to get rid of those planes in there. Delete faces. Please hold. Yeah, yeah, you can definitely turn clipping on. Give me 1 second. I gotta find out how to moderate Twitch. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Biggerwood's trying to sell me his services. Unfortunately, I'm not interested, but you know. Also, need to Jeez, how can this be so difficult? Apparently you can pin messages, that's cool. Cool. There we go. Alright. Well, that's my first Twitch ban. It's nice to know that of the 3 people watching, exactly 33% of them are bots. Alright, anyway, apologies for the quick distraction there. So this is going to be the hilt of the sword. Yeah, so you said in the modifiers you can do a clipping right here. Is this the clipping? Yeah. Well, we won't need that right just quite yet. So, alright, so last thing we need to do is just add one more object for the handle. So we'll do a not a circle. So we'll add mesh cylinder. Let's cut it down in complexity quite a bit. So we'll do 12. We'll rotate Y, rotate 90 on the Y. And scale it down a bunch. How are you doing today, by the way, Yorma? Weekend off to a decent start? MX simulator game, so like do you get to practice on the tracks outside of real life. Alright, so I'm just going to make a actually, I'm going to add one more cylinder. And I'm going to keep it part of this object. It's pretty cool. Let's get rid of that transparency. Okay. And of course, you know me, I'm gonna have to bevel this. If Moose were here, he'd probably cry, but yeah, the bevel isn't working. The reason why is I think because the transforms aren't applied. Blender does its bevels based off like the original mesh, and so if you make a change to it and then you try to like scale it or bevel it or apply some other modifier to it, yeah, you can do that too. Yeah. What's great about 3D arts is that there's like 23.5 different ways to skin a cat. So, okay, so this is not terrible. It's about 1 meter long. I still think it's a little bit too long. I'll bring in a unit for scale in just a second. Then I'm gonna scale this up just a little bit. Okay. Alright, so there are our 3 pieces to the weapon. I'm going to save this really quick. I'm going to import the skeleton. Just to make sure that the scale's right. And I believe we're going to have a right-handed weapon. Do you think anybody will complain if we have only right-handed people in the game? Looking for animations. Skeleton unit segment. Alright. Here we go. Alright, so here's our guy. I'm going to add a new collection. We'll call it Sword. I'm going to delete that collection. I'm going to add a an empty. Gonna add an empty. I'm gonna child the 3 to it. We'll call it Sword. And then we can move them all around at the same time. I'm sure there'll be something controversial about it. I mean, it's hard not to be controversial these days. All right. So. Gonna turn off that snapping. It's kind of messing up my vibe here. Okay, is that? How do you feel like about that? Is that too big? Too small? I feel like it's a little big. There's not quite enough room for it to be a two-handed weapon. Yeah, I can see that. How about that? Mark those as sharp, face, shade smooth. It's the same with this. Mark sharp. Shade smooth. Just shade this smooth entirely. Okay, well, we're gonna go with this. So I'm going to keep my original. I'm going to clone it. Call it sword arig, so I can always pull this up if I need it. I'm going to join the 3 original ones into one object, delete the empty, delete the armature, I no longer need it for reference. Okay, so I'm going to point at the Y direction, apply transforms to it. I'm gonna not show you. I'm just gonna put this in a collection so I can hide it. So now what I need to do is I need to unwrap it. So I'm not gonna do anything fancy. Just smart project it into something that's good enough. The moment you're 50 minutes into a stream and realized you forgot to hit start recording. I gotta set up like a checklist. You know, before starting stream, checklist 1, hit start recording. Checklist 2, make sure your stream title is correct. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut that out. Also gotta fix this because that's not even accurate. Anyway. Alright, so I have my sword. It's modeled. Actually, honestly, probably good enough for a game model, but let's, I need to create a material for it, so I'm just going to create a default material for it. And then I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to add a proxy to it. So I'm going to create a new mesh. It's going to be a cube mesh. I'll just make it the entire thing. So we'll turn on snapping again. And that will be our cube mesh. So this will be the proxy, we'll call it, pairing it to the sword. Throw it in the collection. Just unwrap it, And then we need to create a proxy material for it. So, and here's where CryBlend really comes in handy. I'm going to select this drop down here, set material physics to physics proxy no draw. And it will be treated as a no draw proxy when I import it. The sword here is fine. So we'll just apply all transforms again, and then we should be able to export this to the engine. All right. So BCry exporter, beautiful thing. I'm going to add an export node, CGF call this sword. So the way it works is essentially you have a top level collection called cry export nodes. Each collection within that is one export node. So you could, I've tested this, but you can export like 100 different meshes within one file to CryEngine at the exact same time. It's a beautiful thing. So now that I have a cry export node, I'm going to go ahead and launch the sandbox. Things compile a little bit better when the sandbox is open. In that, like, materials, or not materials, but I don't think meshes will compile unless the sandbox is open, which is interesting. But so let's open our test level. We'll hop back to Blender. We have our cry export node defined, so we're going to click export to CryEngine. We already have it pointed to the RC, so we're going to use custom normals. We're going to generate materials. There are no textures. And we actually have to put this, we have to export this to a folder within the engine. So what I'm going to do is go to my weapons and sword. I'm going to copy the blend file to my project. So assets, objects, weapons. So that's the blend file within my CryEngine project. So I'm going to open that now. And I'm going to do export to CryEngine again, like I just did, except it's going to export it to the folder now. So I'll hit export. I'm just going to toggle the system console to make sure everything exported properly. One file process. So, wow, that was quick. So let's go to our objects, weapons, sword, and here's our sword that we just imported into CryEngine. Well, take a look at that. That's so quick. And the normals are not right. So in the FBX workflow, you'd have to go back, you'd have to do all the normals, you'd have to invert them, you'd have to save it, you have to export the FBX, you have to import into CryEngine. All I'm going to do is select all objects here. I'm going to go into edit mode, face. I'm going to show faces here actually. Yeah, so we'll hide the proxy. So all the red are inverted normals, they're showing the wrong way. So mesh normals recalculate outside. That appeared to fix them. A couple of my edges aren't sharp. Okay, there we go. So let's just do mesh normals, average face area. Oops, mesh normals. Set from faces. I don't want those to be sharp, so I'm gonna have to clear sharp, and then we'll just go to this one and clear sharp. Cool. All right, and we'll turn off the face orientation. I'm still trying to work on understanding exactly how shading affects. That's weird. How shading affects how stuff looks in game, because it affects the normal map representation of it. But for another day. So I need to redo this. I need to re-export the CryEngine. So I'm going to uncheck generate materials because we already have that. Actually, I'm gonna generate the materials again because my proxy wasn't technically part of the original object. So we'll generate materials and we'll hop back into the engine. Look, okay, normals are fixed. That's it. If that didn't sell you on using BCry as a plugin to work with your CryEngine models, then I don't know what will. Yeah. So I'm just going to go into the material really quick and fix the color. We'll just make it gray. And we'll make it really smooth. Shiny. That doesn't look very shiny at all. Well, I guess neither here nor there. It's not really the reason why I'm doing this right now. So here's our sword. So this is the sword CGF. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to create an empty entity. I'm going to create an item to it, which is just a generic item component. I'm going to go into the type, select weapon, name, sword. Select my object, weapon, sword. My material is going to be linked automatically. The icon, we'll have to import a new icon for this because there's no good one to use. So it'll just be nothing for now. We'll give it a weight of 5. Slot hand underscore right. That corresponds to a slot in the skeleton. And audio, I actually haven't tested this, but let's go into sounds for the workers. Let's go to the smelter. Let's do stonemason maybe? Hammer hitting metal. We'll see if that actually works. I don't know. Alright, so I just want to make sure that my proxy is showing up properly. So P draw helpers 1. Okay, there's my proxy. Cool. Alright, so this is an item. In theory, should work. Let's test it out. into game mode, going to create my house. Grab one of our peasants right here, and let's go grab the sword. Wow. That's pretty cool. So the only thing I think that we're missing here is the sword isn't quite, it's not quite in the right spot. We need to move it back and backing up a little bit, I think. So basically the hand is where the origin is. So if we move it this way, the hand will be right here, and then let's move it up just so that it's on the ground. And we'll add a plane actually, so I can see if it's clipping through. Okay. Actually, I may not want to do that. Keep that centered. Okay, but again, exporting it back to CryEngine is super easy. I just hit export and the position's already been changed. So I'm going to move it back a little bit. Do you like that, Yorma? I'm glad it worked. Because there have been some streams we've done that have not worked out so well. To put it mildly. Alright, so we'll apply transforms again, export to CryEngine, and there, done. It still isn't centered right, and I don't know if that's my fault. I feel like I need to fix the joint, because the joint should be in the center. I shouldn't have to offset the weapon to match the character position, and I offset it the wrong direction, of course. So yes, this is going to be a joint problem. But I literally just imported this sword into CryEngine 5 times in a matter of like 30 seconds. Do that with the FBX workflow. I dare you. So the model attaches to the joint of the character at the origin. So like, okay. You see how the sword isn't exact. It's kind of hard to see. Let's jump out of game mode and I'll go into the character tool. So we'll pull up the peasant. So if I go to the hand right and I select the sword geometry, the origin is where the joint is. Yeah, let me do a let's go to combat. Melee. Actually, that's not terrible. Well, I'm going to move it just a little bit, just to reposition it. That sword actually looks really big. Alright. So I'm going to save that. Yes, I want to save that. Alright, so there's our sword. Let's just do this again because it's actually quite satisfying to see. Oh my gosh. Whoops. Everyone gets a sword. You get a sword, he gets a sword, everyone gets a sword. Yeah. Not today, mister. Yeah, I think technically for that joint, I think the idea was that it should always be like at the hilt. So like if the cross section is here, that's where the hilt should be. And maybe that's technically how it is, but we'll need to play around with it a little bit just to get it right. All right, so I'm gonna open a new general file, save as. So it's weapons, so I'm gonna have to rename this to armor, or maybe not. So armor, shield, we'll just create a shield.blend, save as, and we'll just do something simple. So what I'm going to want to do is it's probably not the most efficient way of doing this, but I just did it. So let's just do that. Let's do dissolve faces. Same thing on the other side, dissolve faces. Alright, so now I'm going to just modify this a bit to really use a mirror Y right now, I think. There we go. I think I need these side ones actually, so we'll just dissolve those as well, and we'll pull this up. I'm going to go into this mode just to get a little more control. Sure, we'll go with that, and we'll intrude. Let's do an apply first, then we'll intrude it, and we'll scale extrude. We'll scale X. Extrude faces along normals. Okay. Gives us a little bit of a bevel. to bevel. Yeah. Okay. Now we need to curve this slightly, ever so slightly. Do you happen to know how to do this, Roma? A curve modifier and a curve object, but I don't actually. Really know how this works. Apparently there's no curve on right. There's no curve object. I wanna curve this kite shield. Right. I want around it. Oh, maybe that'll work. It's doing something. I suppose I should add some loop cuts to this. I don't need loop cuts, I just need to join the... Need to join these together. I can always hack this too. I'm not like trying to create a final asset here. I'll just put something simple together. All right. So we'll mirror on the Y and do all the way through. Yeah, we'll just go with that for now. So here's our shield. shade these smooth. I think I can select a loop. No, apparently not. Do you mean like right here? You mean these guys right here? Okay. I'm not actually sure how to do that. The loop cut? Just the cut. Knife, okay. So I have the knife. Okay. So just do like this. And we'll do scales. Whoops. Just flatten that out. I'll do the same thing here then. Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. See what you're putting down. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna go with this. I'm going to move this down to be kind of where the arm would go. Apply the transforms. Yeah, that would have been probably smart. So I'm gonna make another cube proxy for this. Actually, I'm gonna make a slightly more complicated one. I guess right now the goal for this proxy is not to be like a collision proxy when engaging in combat. It's just meant to be a proxy to interact with in the game world. But that can change later on. So I'm gonna add a modifier again to mirror. X and turn on clipping. I'm just gonna make a couple changes to this, just to bring it more in line with the shape of the shield. Apply the modifier. Just merge by distance is a very nice tool for getting rid of duplicate vertices. So there's no duplicates. That's good. So we'll just add a UV unwrap to it. Add a new material. Default proxy. Sorry. Proxy material, we're assigned the proxy no draw physics to it. Make it a child of the shield. Get rid of that curve modifier. We'll add a material for this as well, which is called default, since there's nothing. There's no actual materials assigned to it. And then same thing as before, we go to our BCry exporter, add an export node for shield, move that inside, and then save this and we'll export to CryEngine. I'll generate the materials here, so it's under armor shields. The shield mesh. And I think the material is fine. We'll just leave that for now. Let's just make sure it's physicalized properly. Yep, there's our proxy. So I'll go into the character tool and we'll add this to the left hand, or hand left. Well, that's confused. Yeah, okay, hand right. So hand left, we'll throw the shield in. and I'm going to fix the joint with this because the shield is facing the Y plus direction, which is the direction I want it to be facing. So our joint is just inverted. Oops. So rotate that 90, and then we'll move it slightly. Oh no. My thing undocked. I feel like that shield's, well, I feel like it's a little bit big. What do you think, Irma? Big ass shield, yeah. Alright, let's just scale this down a little bit. And again, it's just this simple to update that mesh and CryEngine. Let me just make sure that actually worked. I don't know where my system console went. Zero of one file were converted. Disordered transform matrix. Okay, I will be right back. All right, so that worked. I just needed to apply the transform on the proxy. Cool. All right, I will be right back, guys. There's a little bit of clipping here on the arm. Every time he swings. So I'm just gonna move this slightly out. Still even just a little bit of clipping. Cool. So I will get rid of the shield first, so not every peasant starts with a shield. We'll get rid of that. We'll delete that. We'll copy our item. And it's going to be armor. It's going to be shield. And let's find the shield. Shield mesh. I'll go ahead and just rotate this 90-ish degrees. We'll throw it over here on the big AF fire. Alright, and then what we get to do now, we'll save this, go back into game mode. I'll have this guy grab his sword and his shield. Let's try that one more time. I had the wrong slot set up for the shield, so it just overwrote the. Oh my gosh. Shield. What happened to the sword? Did it not physicalize or something? Let's just reopen the level. We need to regen our nav mesh. That's why the units aren't able to move. So we'll save the level again. Let's try this. Yeah, picked it up already. I need a reset. When you pick up a piece of equipment, when it resets, it doesn't reinitialize the physical state of it. So I gotta fix that. But all right, so let's do the medium-sized characters. We'll throw one of our houses down. Peasant will come. I will pick up the shield, the sword, or the shield, and then the sword. Wow. And then we can do what with it? I don't know if we can actually fight with it. I'm trying to think if there's a way where I can simulate some sort of combat within this level. Let's add a herd. let's make the herd more spread out. That's too spread out. Let's do 5. And let's make many deer. Yeah. Maybe let's just do like 5. So all these deer should be attackable, I think. And if not, we'll grab a we'll have to grab a different type of person. I'm actually gonna go into our input component here. So the one key recruits Swordsman. From the selection. I don't actually know if that works. So we'll do that in a second. If that doesn't work, we'll try that. But I may have to do some back-end work on this to get this actually working. I don't actually think the peasant has any combat capabilities. So let's just reset the items really quick. Let's spawn our peasants again. But we're gonna make a hunting post. Oh my goodness. Well, apparently we've landed ourselves in a nude beach. The shield didn't equip because I don't think there's a hand left slot for the hunter. So let's go to workers, hunter. Yeah, so like besides him not having any clothes, I don't think he has a slot for the shield. Which we'll have to fix. Maybe we don't want hunters to be able to pick up weapons. But green legs, trousers, light, and we'll give him some boots. And boots. Let's give him the gray boots. Yeah. Okay. And for arms, I'm going to complete you. Because we have a tunic on, which covers that. And legs and feet. Yep. Okay. So yeah. So there's no shield on the. So I'm just gonna try this. This is probably gonna crash, and we may have to end up wrapping up for today. But I mean, you guys have seen it. The equipment equips, like it adds it to his inventory and it throws it on the character, the sword and shield. So to make a barracks, the keybind is B. Who would have thought? And then to recruit is 1. So I'm going to open up the test level again. We'll add a house. We'll add a B here. B for barracks. Why is the barracks a tarp here? No. Barracks B. Oh no, I've overridden it. There's not enough keys to bind to all of our build events. Let's just yeah, let's just override that for now. I'll have to rebuild to reassign that action. I don't know why changing the input component CPP file is causing us to recompile everything. Maybe I changed something else accidentally. Just to talk for a second. So right now all of our items are predefined global. So like item tar, item wood, item log, it's just a predefined set of data. Which is kind of nice because you can use it from within code, but it's not very flexible. And so what we're looking to build out is actually something that mirrors the cry action items, in that you can define all your items in an XML file. So essentially it would be like a Google Sheets doc, with each page or each tab being your type. So like tab 1 would be weapons, tab 2 would be armor, etc. And then you just define all the properties for your different items. Within that spreadsheet, you export as an XML document. When the engine starts, it uses something like an equipment manager that loads all those properties and then creates all those items, all those default items, and stores them within the equipment manager. And then you can pull them out and use them wherever you want from within the equipment manager. So that's something that I'm looking to implement, so that adding just so that it's more dynamic, so that items can be added to the game and they can be interacted with and changed and created without having to predefined items can be created without having to define all the properties manually, which I think is going to cause some inconsistencies, especially if it's a persistent game world. Alright, so we're back. So let's try this one more time. So I'm going to make a B. Okay, so there's a barracks with no name. So I'm going to create my okay. I'm hitting 1 and no one's spawning. So that's kind of what I expected, but we'll have to get that working. Maybe it's because I didn't have the. Oh, that's why. I need to select the barracks. So select it, hit a 1, and there's our crash. Unit initialize. Unit save defaults. I think that's because the Swordsman isn't set up right now. Maybe it is. There's no CDF associated with it. Again, I don't know why. That's true. I just changed the header file. I think sometimes I think stuff is too tightly coupled within the system right now. So. Anyway, things to improve. Let me actually just let me open this back up and make sure that we have a Swordsman military. Okay. So by default he has nothing. He does have a hand left and a hand right. I can't bear seeing them without clothes on. Too much PTSD of the early days. So there's a Swordsman, so I'm going to save the level again. We'll create that. We'll create, and we'll press 1 to spawn our. Okay, so that worked. He doesn't have a fragment. Fragment name Swordsman. Guessing that it's going to say that Swordsman could not be found. Maybe not. Maybe there's just a movement issue. Well, let's just... Get me go. Yeah. So we'll load our preview setup for military. Yeah. Okay. So none of our fragments are set up for these guys yet. So I'll have to do that. Attack an anim layer here. We'll create this to attack, loop it, and then we'll save the changes and re-export all. Alright, this is the last try. Here's your Swordsman with his shield and right, and the attachment slot just isn't fixed for this one, but I have to fix the rotation on the rest of the characters as well. Man, these deer really do not like him. At this rate, he's doing exactly 1 damage to the deer, so it's gonna take like forever. But all right. Well, that's gonna be it for today. Yeah, we kind of walked through the items and attachments and created a sword and shield and got those imported into the engine. Fixed the Swordsman so that he at least has animations hooked up right. Yeah, and that's pretty cool. Again, the concept is to allow for these items to be able to exist in the world in a lot of places, which you can get from like looting a camp, a bandit camp, or attacking other soldiers or other players as well. Yeah, and so I think as we move forward, I'd love to continue to focus on this aspect, because this is going to play not only into combat or engagement, but also is going to play into like looting different areas. If you destroy somebody else's stuff, you want to get something out of it, and in theory you should be able to carry anything they have away as loot to storing your own kingdom. So I hope you guys liked the stream. If there's any suggestions, comments, feedback, please post them in the Discord feedback channel. If you have not yet, please join Discord. See what we're working on. Come hang out, ask any questions if you have any. But other than that, thanks for coming back to the stream. It's good to be back. Very excited to continue doing this and showing you guys what we have in store for the rest of the year. Talk to you next time.